at the start of my relationship that I'm in now, I did the test and I feel like I was like, okay, I understand why when this happens I get upset or I get frustrated.
Yeah.
And I do feel like it actually helped me communicate things clearer.
Absolutely.
In a non-aggressive way because, you know, you kind of can say, I understand that this is happening, but this is how I receive love. And that's where you can create boundaries as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, boundaries for yourself and boundaries for your partner because, you know, we all have needs in a relationship and we all have things that we require to feel loved and, you know, we should never kind of compromise who we are to suit a person we're dating. Hey guys, welcome to the Happy Way podcast, your go-to place for all things fun, happiness, well-being, growth, trust and diversity. I am your host, Melissa Fideli, and I am here to inspire and connect everyone who chooses health and happiness so you can be your healthiest self and live life the happy way. Welcome back, everyone. Today's episode is all about love, communication, and how to best understand yourself and your partner to create a long-lasting and healthy relationship. Many things define a healthy relationship, but communication skills and self-love are at the forefront of success. To guide us through today's episode and provide us with some amazing tools, resources, and skills to help us love better is Hana. Hana has studied psychology and science and is currently undertaking her master's in counselling and psychotherapy. She helps empower young people in their dating life and relationships to build healthier and stronger relationships with themselves and the people they love. And today she is here to help you. So let's get into it. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Excited to have you on.
I'm excited to be here.
This is an episode that I was, as we were, you know, drafting up the questions, I'm like, oh my God, I'm actually really excited to learn all of this stuff.
Love it.
Yeah. So I want to start by asking a big question. Communication within a relationship. How important is it and how do you go about it without it becoming an argument and being on the defense?
So communication is extremely important in relationships, in all sorts of relationships. So relationships with your friends, relationships with family. It's important to establish what your needs are and to be clear about those and not sweep things under the rug, which a lot of people can tend to do a bit. So one of the main aspects of that and one of the things I find really important is regular check-ins with your partner. So long-lasting, growth-orientated relationships, they take work. They don't come easy at all times. You know, relationships ebb and flow through difficult and, you know, easier periods, and people are constantly growing and therefore relationships are constantly evolving. Needs change, commitments change, things like that. So in order to stay on the same page of life and support each other better, it's so important to check in with each other frequently. And it's really simple in doing this. So dedicating a time every fortnight or month or even more frequently during tough periods can make a huge difference to your relationship. So this can be as easy as a 5-minute conversation, asking questions like, you know, what's making you happy right now? What can we do more of to make you happy? Is there anything I could be doing better to support you? You know, especially if someone's going through a bit of a stressful period with work, they might need, you know, different needs than what they usually would. Asking questions about, for example, sex life and how things are feeling for you at the moment. If, you know, your partner's looking for something, you know, you wanting to experiment with new things, you know, asking partner what makes you feel close to them and things like that. So checking in regularly encourages that openness and communication and makes a habit of it. So if you're organizing these regular checkups, even if they're once a month, they can be really important because it gives you an opportunity to voice your concerns and deal with concerns before they snowball into big issues. And we're not mind readers. And so many of us expect our partners to just read, you know, our emotions and know exactly what we want, but we really need to discuss what our needs are and make sure that we're continuing that conversation and not assuming things either, because if we're not checking in, this can lead to miscommunication, built up resentment if things aren't resolved. And it can be the reason that people start growing apart in relationships without even realizing. And you hear of relationships that end because, you know, people have somehow grown apart. But I think so much of this is down to two people not really communicating along the paths of their life and then coming to a point where they realize they're just on different pages altogether.
Yeah. I love the idea of kind of making a time and just sticking to that time because communication isn't always easy, and it can be a conversation that can be a little bit difficult. But I think knowing that it's coming and kind of preparing what you want to say to your partner, even if it's writing a list or whatever, it just kind of helps you get to that point and be able to talk about those things that you just mentioned.
Absolutely.
And make it normal and make it not so scary.
Yeah.
So kind of within this, if you are in a relationship and you've started to feel that you're growing apart, like you said, because maybe you don't ever do this, maybe you never check in with one another, how do you kind of initiate having those conversations with a partner that maybe isn't a great communicator?
Well, the thing is, it's never too late. You can essentially do it, at any stage of relationship. If you've just started to date or, you're 20 years in and you've got kids, no matter your situation, you can just start asking these questions. And I'll talk a little bit more about sort of dating each other a bit later, but incorporating into those things, when you're out on a date, just, asking those questions, building that intimacy. You can do it when you're sitting down at dinner together, you can do it before you go to bed, just making a routine out of it and a habit out of it is the most important thing for sure.
And how do you go about it? Because having these conversations is difficult. So how do you stop yourself from being on the defense? Because when you or your partner start to get a little bit, oh my God, I didn't do that or I didn't say that, or you get defensive and angry, it can turn into an argument rather than a conversation.
Absolutely.
So how do you kind of navigate through that?
Definitely learning to fight fair.
Yeah.
Because, people can get defensive and often, they're getting defensive because they've been triggered by something. Yeah. So really looking into that deeply. And that's what therapy is also really good for, understanding yourself at that deeper level and understanding your partner at that deeper level and understanding, why they're getting defensive about these things. But always trying to, I think it's so important to put yourself in your partner's shoes and really actively listen when you're having a conversation with them, because people can sort of sit there waiting to say their part, waiting to, becoming defensive. But put yourself in your partner's shoes, really have a listen to what they're saying, listen to the deeper issue there, because they wouldn't be bringing these things up if it wasn't hurting them. And, you have to hold back that defensiveness, because it's not a good quality. And it's one of, I don't know if you know the Gottman Institute, I've done a little bit of training with them, and they're, experts in all things relationships. And they have these 4 horsemen, which are essentially the 4 biggest predictors of separation in relationships. And one of them is defensiveness, because it is such a toxic behavior and it really does pull people apart. So it's definitely one to avoid for sure.
Okay. So put yourself in their shoes and listen. Because it's true that you say that. I mean, I know I've done that and I probably still do.
Yeah. We all do. We're not perfect.
Yeah. That you kind of, if you start feeling something, it's getting under your skin a little bit, you're like, okay, what am I going to say? Like, how do I respond to this?
And you make a story in your head.
Yeah, and then you're not actually even listening to what they're trying to express to you.
Yeah.
And that's where...
Because you're anticipating what they're going to say and how you're going to respond.
And how I'm going to respond, because oh my God, I didn't do that or whatever. So it's interesting. It really does come down to those active listening skills. And putting yourself in their shoes, like
Absolutely.
you said.
And it can be hard in an argument and things like that.
Of
but
course.
Over time and with practice, and if you're really struggling with it, again, sometimes that's just a reason to see someone and get that expert advice.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, communication, I feel like it's the be all and end all.
It definitely is.
So I love those little practices and tips, and starting to get into those routines is important.
And another one I was going to mention was the regular date nights.
Okay.
I'm a firm believer that you should continue to date your partner for life. You know, a date night every week or fortnight at the bare minimum is key. And it's something that keeps a spark alive. It makes a habit out of prioritizing the relationship as well. And you need that when times get tough, when you need that closeness. And I think it's something that's overlooked, especially when people move in together, because they're spending so much time together. But is that time quality time, and is it intentional is the real question there. And the last thing you want in a relationship is to start acting like housemates that sleep in the same bed.
Yes.
It's the last thing you want. So, some people will say, it's different with kids and you don't have time. And I understand that. But if it's a priority, you will find that time. And things don't need to be complicated or fancy or expensive. You know, it could be a situation where, you know, the kids go to bed and you have a little candlelit dessert, you know, and you play some games. You know, my favorites are Flex Mummy has some card games, which are amazing. And the Gottman Institute has this free app called Card Decks. And you play these questions with your partner to get to know them a little bit better, and you build that intimacy. And all of this links with the check-ins as well, because you can, on these date nights, bring in those check-ins and really make sure you're looking after each other and just build a healthy habit around dating your partner and building that excitement and that intimacy and things like that.
I do agree with that completely, because, you know, when you get not comfortable, but when you're, you know, you kind of at the start of a relationship, it is so fun and exciting because you don't have boring dates. You plan, you know, you both put in equal effort. You know, your partner will organise something, you organise something, you'll be doing things together.
And that's how it could continue. Yeah, exactly.
And then it's like it sucks that it kind of gets into that, oh, well, now we're together or now we're living together. So like we don't have to try anymore because like we got each other. Like, but it's not even about that. It's about creating a fun experience together and having memories.
That's it.
You know, like you said, you do get to know each other deeply on those dates. And, you know, no matter what they are, it's just being intimate and being together.
Really setting time aside and, you know, phones away, really, you know, completely in the moment with each other. Yeah. Because there's so many distractions in life.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone's busy. Everyone's got their things. Exactly. So I think it just makes you feel loved, I guess.
And if it's the person you want to spend the rest of your life with, it's such an important and valuable relationship to work on as well. Yeah. You don't want to just get comfortable and stop caring about impressing each other. Like, I don't know, it's fun to put on a cute dress and go out for dinner and just like get dressed up, but even just hanging out at home, there's so many options out there.
Yeah. I love it. So I want to now get into love languages.
Yes.
So we hear a lot about these, but what exactly are they, and how do we go about learning and understanding our partner's love language? And why is that important in a relationship?
So this is probably my favourite part. I'll chew so many people's ears off about love languages. They need to start paying me, I swear.
I love it.
So the principle is that people have different personalities and therefore different ways to show love and the ways they like to receive love. So by learning yours and your partner's love language preferences, you're able to better understand your partner's needs, which in turn leads to greater relationship satisfaction. So there's 5 love languages. They are words of affirmation, which is saying, you know, I love you and giving compliments, things like that. As quality time, which is spending uninterrupted time together, you know, those dates and time away from the phone, things like that. Gift giving, pretty self-explanatory, you know, buying your partner flowers on the way home. Acts of service, doing a chore for them that they hate doing. Like, I will never take out the bins. I hate taking out the bins. So for me, that's really nice when someone does that for me. Physical touch, you know, cuddling, hand holding, things like that. And every relationship uses a bit of these, but people will often have, you know, 1 or 2 primary ways they love to receive love. And it doesn't matter what you are and what your partner is, but what matters is that you're willing to learn what your partner's is and show them love in the way they like to receive it, because it makes them feel wanted and, you know, loved and like you're putting in that effort. And doing the test is a really good way of starting the conversation about your needs in the relationship. So that's on, I think it's like 5lovelanguages.com. It's quite easy to search. It's a really quick test. You can do it. I recommend doing it like every 6 months or a year, because needs change. And in every relationship, your needs change. So if you did the test in a previous relationship, you might have some new scores in this one. And it gives you some information on how someone can show you love in that way. So it's just about expressing that to your partner and saying, you know, this is what I like and this makes me feel loved and this makes me feel close to you.
I do feel like your love language, they do change, especially as you get older or your priorities change, whatever it is. And I think it just makes it easier when you can understand how your partner, or even how you, like yourself, how you receive love. Because everyone receives love differently and we all kind of want to feel it in a different way. And I think that just makes it a little bit easier.
It does.
When you both understand that and you're on the same page with things.
Absolutely. And a lot of people don't know how to, like, before I learn about this stuff, and I feel like I'm pretty, you know, I know a lot about this sort of stuff, but before I really learned about the love languages, I didn't understand exactly what things made me feel loved. I knew in general, you know, but it really breaks it down for you. And it's so much easier to communicate when it's like, when I'm stressed, I need a hug. You know, when I'm stressed, I like when you do a few more things around the house because then I don't have to worry about it. So yeah, it helps you break it down. Like, that's good.
Amazing. I love it. So we can I've done that online, I think.
Oh, good.
Yeah. It's
Had the conversation and stuff.
Yeah, of course.
It's, really helpful,
good. Might have to do it again.
Yeah, what are your two? Do you remember what they are?
Mine are physical touch.
Same.
And quality time.
Me too.
Oh, no way. We are the same person.
This is getting weird, isn't it?
I know. Ever since Hannah got here, we've been like, I do this. Oh, I do that too. We're like on the same page with everything. Oh, great.
Meant to be.
Meant to be. Oh, yeah. So they're my love languages. And I feel I never knew that before, to be honest, in all my past relationships. I never even knew about the love languages. And then at the start of my relationship that I'm in now, I did the test and I feel like I was like, okay, I understand why when this happens I get upset or I get frustrated.
Yeah.
And I do feel like it actually helped me communicate things clearer.
Absolutely.
In a non-aggressive way because, you know, you kind of can say, I understand that this is happening, but this is how I receive love. And that's where you can create boundaries as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, boundaries for yourself and boundaries for your partner because you know, we all have needs in a relationship and we all have things that we require to feel loved and, you know, we should never kind of compromise who we are to suit a person we're dating, I guess. So,
and the thing with that as well, and I've been in a really similar sort of situation before where I didn't understand mine and me and my partner had very different love languages and I just didn't feel like he would have been trying to show me love and he would have thought that, you know, I was trying to do it. Yeah, exactly, because that was his way of doing it.
Yeah.
And I was on the other end feeling like I wasn't
getting anything.
Yeah. So that miscommunication in love languages can be really difficult if you don't know what they are because one person's trying and the other person just doesn't feel like they are.
Yes. Interesting. It's crazy.
It is.
Carrying on from the dating, we talked about why it's important to go on dates and to keep that spark alive within your relationship. Following on from that, how do we make it fair between both parties in a relationship so it's not always one person planning everything? So I'm kind of thinking like, you know, if you're in a long-term relationship or you've been with someone for a really long time or even at the start, I guess, same thing. How do you kind of make it fair and
go
share.
One for one.
Yeah. Okay.
One person does, even like surprise dates are so much fun.
Yeah.
I love getting surprised with stuff like that. So one partner organizes something, you know, maybe they're more of an outdoors person. So they take you outdoors and do something like that. And the other person the next week will organize something, making sure. And then if you feel like your partner's being a bit slack and not really
pulling their weight.
On their turn. Have a chat with them about it and just say, this means a lot to me and I like it when you put effort into this. Again, open communication, just discuss how you're feeling about it because I've definitely been in that position in past relationships where I just felt like it was me organising everything and then you almost don't want to do it anymore.
You don't want to do it. It doesn't feel fun.
Exactly.
It's not exciting because you're like, do you even want to be
here?
Yeah, exactly. This is so embarrassing. Okay,
exactly
one for one.
Right.
I like it. Good. And like you said, if you're not getting what you need, communicate back to those, you know, that communication point that you made right at the start. Now, I truly believe for every relationship to be successful, you need to continue working on yourself as an individual in order to bring more to your relationship. What are your best tips on this and recommendations and how do we do that? You know, how do we continue to work on ourselves and
when your cup is full, you bring more to the relationship. So just maintaining focus on that. You should never rely on your partner to fill up your cup completely. Like they will to an extent. They make you happy and they will to an extent, but they should never be the sole reason for your happiness. Find what makes you happy and brings you purpose in life. You know, spend quality time with your friends and family. Learn to love yourself. Self-love is insanely important. It sets a tone for how you want others to treat you in relationships, and that's relevant with friendships as well. If you don't have this, you might lower your standards, accept bad treatment from people, exhaust your partner by needing constant validation and reassurance. You know, you might project fear or insecurity into your relationships. All these things will eventually affect your relationship as well. And, you know, for me, my story was that before I had the self-love stuff down pat, I would find myself in relationships with the wrong people and this constant toxic cycle would go, you know, round and round in circles. And I was really confused about why this was happening. I read this amazing book by Zoe Foster Blake. It's called Love.
That's my favorite book.
This is so weird. How good is it? It's my favorite book as well. It changed my life.
Same. I got out of a really bad relationship and I read that book and I was like, I'm a new woman.
Me too.
This is the best time of my life.
It's amazing, isn't it?
I love her.
And I love how it goes into all the different aspects of love. It's like self-love, then, love when you're going through a breakup, then love when you're in a relationship and like dating and all this sort of stuff. Like I'm literally getting goosebumps.
I know. It just, and there was this point in there that really stuck with me. And it was, when you are single or, even just when you're working on yourself, like going back to more single, but that's a time in your life that you will never get back again. There's only few experiences in your life where you're like, I'm completely selfish. I'm going to work on myself.
So you've got to make the most of it.
Make the most of it. And it kind of teaches you how to love who you are as a person.
Exactly.
And, if your relationships aren't going well, it's a time to also look at what am I offering? Like I've got this list of things that I want from my partner, but what am I giving? What are my, great qualities and what do I offer this other person? And how can I be better as a human for myself?
Yeah, exactly.
Not just for another person, but for me. So then when I'm in a relationship that can kind of, wow, look at that. This chick's amazing.
I know.
Look
at her self-love.
Yeah,
look at her confidence and her self-worth.
Yeah.
It definitely makes you a more attractive person,
yes.
just to be, even for friends, to be around, like when you have that self-love. And it changed my life as well, that book. And that's where everything changed for me. I moved to Adelaide soon after reading that, and I became so aware of red flags. And because I knew my worth, I didn't settle for any less than that. And, I found, the person that I've like actually deserved. And compared to everyone else I've dated in my past, like, I look back, I'm like, why was I doing that?
Why was I settling for that?
Why was I staying? Because I was, I thought I deserved that. Or, it's crazy. But some ways to achieve self-love. First of all, stop comparing yourself to others. We do this all the time. And it's so sad to think about, because as individuals, like, that is so important that we're different to other people. And even, in dating and things like that, people get so hung up on rejection. And I always say, why would you want to be everyone's cup of tea? You'd be so boring if everyone liked you. Yeah. Like, the thing that makes you you is really important. So love yourself and stop comparing yourself to others. Surround yourself with people that encourage you is really important. Learn about yourself. Learn about your triggers, your attachment style. Think about what you've learned from past relationships so that you don't continue them later in life. And this might mean booking in and seeing a therapist and really, getting into the nitty-gritty of it. Celebrate your wins, no matter their size. Be proud of yourself. Speak to yourself in a positive, encouraging way. Like, this was really hard for me, especially, as a teenager and growing up. And it is for so many women. We're so hard on ourselves in so many ways. And I write things on my mirror now. I write down on my mirror to express gratitude every day. And I have a little affirmation there. And, making sure I remember like who I really am and that I am worth it. So express yourself through things you enjoy, like music, painting, the clothes that you wear. Find something you love doing. Step out of your comfort zone and try new things. Like I mentioned before, I moved to Adelaide. It was something I never thought I'd do. I'm not a risk taker at all. And it has been the best decision I've ever made in my life. And, take risks, and worst case scenario, just go back.
Exactly.
You can make it work. And nourish your body through good food and movement.
Yeah.
That's a very important one as well.
Yeah. Wow. So they're really all, they're things that we all know we should do.
Absolutely.
We know we need to be kind to ourselves. We know we need to look after our mind and our body and, live a life that we're proud of and express ourselves. We're not here to be like every other person.
Yeah.
And, I do think it is hard to get out of that. And it is hard to now with social media constantly be like, oh, well, all these girls are doing this and everyone else is doing that. And, this person, why don't I look like this? And like you said, just unfollow those people. If there are people that are making you feel that you're not good enough, they're the people you need to stay away from
Yeah.
because it's about you and it's about improving you. And at the end of the day, we all have something so special to offer the world.
Absolutely.
We all do. And it's just acknowledging that. And it takes a long time to be
It
like,
does.
yeah, I'm an awesome person. Like, I'm great. I've got all these great qualities and I have a lot to offer. It's not an easy thing to say and actually believe it as well.
It's convincing yourself. That's the hardest part for sure.
Exactly. But doing all those things every day, that's what's going to help you get there. And, you know, one of the things that I read in Love was, you know, males, I'm talking about a male-female situation here. But, you know, when a woman starts dating and, you know, I feel like a lot of it's very hard to kind of stop yourself from looking at everything on the external and comparing yourself and all those things and putting this person first before yourself.
Yeah.
You know, but there was this bit that I read in that book and it said, a boy would never cancel his footy practice.
Exactly.
A boy would never cancel boys' night. So why are you constantly cancelling things for yourself? You know, why are you constantly not going to your yoga class or your gym class or seeing your girlfriends and, you know, and putting other people before yourself? It's about being selfish and how am I going to give back to myself today and what am I going to do to show myself love? And
exactly.
It's just so many things.
That is such a good point. Yeah. And oh my God, I could go into so much about dating as well. So much on that. But absolutely prioritizing yourself.
Yeah.
Always. And obviously, like when you get in a relationship, your partner's super important to you, but you just can't let go of all of that, all of the things that make you happy because you want to be the best version of the partner you can be to them as well.
Absolutely. Yes. So there is such a stigma around couples counselling and I definitely know it's seen as a last resort. You know, it's seen as oh my God, if there's nothing else going to work, then we have to try this.
Yeah.
But there's such a stigma around it, you know.
Absolutely.
Why are you passionate about breaking that stigma and starting to normalise young people and couples seeking those services to learn how to deal with relationship complexities and strengthen their relationship in those early stages?
Basically because the sooner the better before damage is done. You know, therapy in general is becoming so much more normalized, especially within younger generations, which is amazing. But couples therapy, like you said, is still lagging behind massively. And like you said, I think people see it as you go to couples therapy if you're 40 years old and you're married and everything's about to fall apart. But sometimes at that point, it's way too late anyway. You know, the damage has been done. Things have been said. Things have been done that have just are potentially too much to fix. So the aim of what I want to do is encourage young people to look at it with more of a proactive approach rather than a reactive approach when things are really bad, and learn to deal with issues early in a relationship before they snowball and like fix things before the damage has really been done. So we've all grown up with so much stuff from our past, which we bring into current relationships, you know, attachment, things like that. So, and we do this both consciously and unconsciously. And the aim of therapy is to understand this and how to work through it in order to live in a happier, healthier relationship. So fundamentally, you know, therapy teaches people how to sustain a healthy relationship over time with themselves, with their loved ones. A few reasons people seek couples counselling might be communication issues. Trust has been broken. You know, it could be something big like infidelity, or it could be little things that have happened a long time that have caused that breakage in trust. Or it could be, you know, you've got trauma from the past, which is really causing a struggle in terms of that whole feeling like housemate stuff. You know, you don't feel that intimacy, or sex has dropped off. Or you've even if you've just been through a difficult life event, you know, you could have experienced loss, or something as tragic as a miscarriage can really affect a couple. And just that whole, you know, feeling disconnected. These are all reasons people see couples counsellors. And things don't have to be bad. You might have had one fight that just keeps going around in circles and you're really stuck on it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've watched, you know, through my training, I've watched videos of couples in arguments trying to resolve things. And a therapist will, you know, have a couple sitting in front of them and ask them to discuss, you know, a sensitive topic that they keep fighting about. And they'll bring it up, and then they'll ask, you know, the girl to talk about it. And they'll say to the guy, so what did she say? And he'll say, well, she's saying this. And she'll say, no, I'm not. And they're just completely miscommunicating what they're trying to say. And then that's why they're butting heads constantly. So sometimes when you have a third party there to say, look, she's hearing this, you're hearing this, like, we need to work on what you're saying because things aren't coming across right. And how do we do this? And let's make a plan. Let's make a plan to discuss this, even if it's once a week, and really work through these issues together. It's so important. And I think people are really recognizing the importance of, because your mind, your mental health, your brain are so important.
Yeah.
And just because you don't see them like you do your body, and you know, you can see if someone's, you know, not looking after their body, for example, but you can't see if someone's not looking after their brain.
Yeah.
And it needs to be normalized, just like exercise is, just like eating good is. Looking after your brain should be that same conversation.
100%.
And it's sad there is stigma, but I think hopefully with time that will change.
That'll break. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
So for anyone who wants to better their relationship and learn more from you, where can they come and find you?
They can find me on _strongfoundations on Instagram.
Beautiful. And it is the most aesthetically pleasing Instagram ever. And the content is amazing. So,
so sweet.
Yeah, no, I love your social media. As soon as you started your page, I think I followed you straight away. I'm like, oh my God, this is so helpful. So many good resources.
I love yours too. Stop it.
Thank you. So thank you so much for sharing all of that. I feel like I personally got so much out of it.
I'm glad to hear.
And yeah, it's just, you know, sometimes these are all just little reminders that we need, you know, reminders of why communication is important, how we can work through it, and relationships are so important to us.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a scary thing.
Yeah, exactly. And this is kind of just a way to reflect and help and take that scary part away.
Yeah, for sure.
So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course. So that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I hope you have taken even just one piece of wisdom from this episode that you can apply to your life to help you grow and be a happier and healthier version of you. Please like, subscribe, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and make sure to share us on your socials. Sending lots of love to you all. Bye.